Welcome to another episode of Amplifying Your Business. And today I'm actually so excited to be able to bring somebody who I have watched for a while on social media for marketing tips, for just little tips and tricks to actually be able to get and talk to you today. And I am very excited to talk to you, Kayla, today and just be able to. I'm fangirling. It's okay. I'll get on the thread because I have watched you on social media myself, and I just love the way you present yourself, your business, marketing, all of it. Like it just draws me in every time I see something that you put up there. So I'm excited to have you here with us.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Okay, so I am Michaela Taylor. I am a marketing strategist, mentor, coach, and I help businesses build like a marketing plan and kind of find those gaps in their business. They can't quite see those gaps, and I help you like bridge those gaps together. And then also to create a message that will convert your audience to paying clients.
I love it because I know I love all the tips that you put out, and I am one of those people who I'm like, what can I learn today? So that I can fill those gaps. Like, it's just so awesome.
Yeah.
What you do, and it's so powerful. So let's start with some big questions, I guess, of like, what are some big marketing gaps that you kind of like see right now, or maybe see in just your clients per se, going on right now that maybe we all need to be aware of?
I think there's a bunch. Okay, so I think one of the things that people struggle with is standing out from the crowd because there's so many people that do what we do, whatever industry you're in. There's a lot of people that, especially if you're on the online industry, there's a lot of people that do what you do. And so trying to find what that unique thing is that you do just like elevates your confidence in your business. So I think people sometimes struggle with finding out what exactly that is and how to figure it out. And then I think another thing that people don't have is having a business plan, like a marketing plan, a sales plan, and they just kind of like wing it. There's some statistic. I wish I had it at my desk right now. I learned it in school, but the statistic was crazy, like super high, where I want to say more than 50% of people don't have like a business plan whatsoever. And that's just something that's super important to have. And then another thing that I find is that the messaging, sometimes people's messaging is very fluffy. It is not concise and clear for their audience.
Okay, so elaborate on that, because I think you came up with, there's three awesome points, but this one is one that I think is a huge thing.
Right.
Of we hear in the business world, like, okay, we need to connect to the emotions, and sometimes you hear you need to niche down, and other times you hear don't niche too far, and finding all these different tips and tricks and making it flow and all the things. Elaborate a little bit more on the too fluffy thought process and what we need to be. How can we be more concise yet still touch the emotions of somebody or get them to feel without being too abstract?
Right. So I think one of the common like fluffy ways that people do messaging is for example, they'll be like, feel confident in your business. Like, I help you feel confident in your sales. But what does that mean? What does that like actually look like for them? One of the things, okay. An example of something that wouldn't be fluffy, be concise. You could say something like, imagine you're sitting ready to post content on your social media and you know exactly what to say to your ideal client that's going to resonate with them. You know exactly what to say, you know exactly what words to use that connects with them. You're kind of I'm putting them in that space where they're picturing themselves actually sitting there on their phone posting content.
Yes.
So that's what I mean by like not being fluffy. The fluffy part would be like, I help you like I'll help you feel confident when you post your content, or I'll help you. It's very vague. You know what I mean? You want to paint the picture for them so they're actually like sitting there like, oh, yeah, I don't feel that way. I don't know what to say or do when I'm posting my content for my business. But I want that. I want to be able to sit there and like know exactly what to say.
Yes. So like instead of just using the word confident, like define confident. What does confident look like
For them.
versus
Yeah.
just saying I'm gonna make you feel confident? Because
Yeah.
me being confident, I could be posting every day, being like, heck yes, I've got this, but it's like falling flat or it's not resonating and so the difference there would be like you're leaving too much up for interpretation.
Yeah.
It needs to be more direct with what do you want their end results to be after working with you.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have, it could be just any word. And it doesn't even have to be confidence, right? It
Right.
could be like, I help you feel empowered in your business. What does that mean? What does that look like for them?
Right. Right. I think, and I agree with you. I was that person. I was that person. I will own that. I will own that type of thought process because I was, at the beginning, I was like, well, I'm too afraid. I would be afraid to put too much restrictions or confidence or whatever. I mean, too many guidelines in that word or what I was saying because I would sit there and be like, well, then what if it doesn't resonate with everybody? Or what if this isn't the right way to do it? Or if I can just say confidence, then anybody can interpret it the way that they want to, right? And that's speaking to too many and not the specific person I wanted to work with. And so I'll be for the first one to say that the minute that I switched that and I started to talk about the emotional side of things, but being concise on what I wanted that person to walk away with or what I want them to feel or how I want them to be was a huge change because then I could sit there and put content out that I didn't feel like I was repeating myself, but yet I was talking over the same topic, just different ways of putting it that still resonated with people, that made it powerful and impactful.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you mentioned something else that said about standing out. And so my question next is then how do we make sure that we can stand out, especially when it comes to marketing in the online space when, like you said, there's a lot of people doing what we do and it doesn't matter the industry. There's a lot of people out there. Social media is a very saturated area. So how do we make our messaging, our marketing stand out amongst the crowd?
Okay, so there's a couple ways that we can do this. One of the ways is in our messaging, we can have like, I call it a unique selling point. And it's just a phrase that we use in your messaging for a specific offer or service. And it's just a phrase that kind of like stands out where it kind of gets their attention, like a attention grabbing title. So that's one of the things that we can do to stand out. Another way we can stand out is, okay, I know this sounds tedious and boring, but doing market research. And what this looks like is I actually just did this recently. It's kind of like a SWOT analysis, but shortened a little bit. So what you do is you write out your strengths personally and your weaknesses that you have. And then I want you to go do some research on your competitors, and I want you to write down what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. And one of the things that I found out was that, like, for example, I found out from doing this that one of my weaknesses is that sometimes I'm not as consistent with my content, and I basically have all my eggs in one basket. I'm only on Instagram, but all of my competitors are in other platforms.
Okay.
Or they have different things. They're consistent with their emails, or they have a podcast. So then I'm finding like this gap. One of those other things that I was talking about, I'm finding the gap where I have in my marketing. But But another example would be when you're doing your market research. Okay, I just love examples. It just makes it easier.
Yeah.
So another example what would be is like I was noticing when I would do market research, I was noticing other coaches. And I would notice how coaches who say that they're business coaches or marketing coaches or whatever, but they also talked about how they did mindset as well. Okay. So I was noticing that a lot of people said that they did mindset and like the marketing business aspect of things, but they actually didn't know how to do mindset correctly. So I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to stand out from everyone else. I'm going to go get certified as a mindset coach. And then I'm actually going to get like certifications and courses, classes, like college classes in marketing. And that's how I'm going to stand out from everyone else in the crowd. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about those experiences and those things that I have, those trainings that I have that stands out from everyone else that might not have that or don't have that. So that's another thing is like what experiences or trainings or schooling, whatever you have, how does that make you different than everyone else?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I think you made really great points of just the concept that I am a numbers nerd. I love numbers. I love research. I wanted to go to school to do research. So that is like, I love the numbers. I love the analytics. I love seeing that concept because that can then give me a better insight into the mind of the person I'm speaking to. Right. And so I think market research is something that everybody should be doing. Talk
Totally.
to your ideal client, talk to people and find out what they want. I mean, I just put up a post recently about asking I was doing batch content. I said, batch contenting, what do you want to hear? Coming from the business perspective, let's talk. What do you want to hear? What do you want to know? Who do I need to be getting as a guest? What are things that make you want to sit down and listen? So things like that we need to understand because we could be thinking about our ideal client, but until we actually ask them and get in their mind, we have no idea what they actually need or what they're looking for or searching for. Even though everybody said that like your ideal client is an older version of you or a past version of you, you're like, that's great. It's now I don't know what they really need or really are asking or wanting without asking. And I think I need to do more of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's a great tip for your messaging in particular, because when you interview or ask questions from your ideal client, what I tell people to do, use their exact wording that they use, exact word for word. Put that in your messaging. There you go.
Absolutely.
It will resonate with them.
Yes, people are already using those words. They're searching for that. We have to remember that social media, especially when it comes to like I think of podcasting or I think of other forums, people are literally Googling what comes to their mind. It might not be like the strategist. They're probably like, I need to know how to post the right content. But if we're not putting that in the wording, it's not going to show up for them. It's not going to feel like it's going to feel over their head or not right or not what something that they're listening to. They're not listening because we're not speaking the words that they're hearing or wanting to hear.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And so my next question then is I think at least when I started, I always felt like marketing was the colors, the fonts, the image, right? The image.
Yeah.
And so as I have learned, marketing is more than that. But hear your insight on this, I'm going to call it a myth of marketing is just a pretty picture that we put out there.
That's so interesting. I have not like heard that from anyone really. Kind of, but okay, so marketing is definitely more than that, but it's a piece of it. It's not like it's not a piece of it, but it totally is. But I think marketing is it's just all of these different pieces. Your messaging. That's going to be a huge aspect of your marketing. Your content, like where is your ideal client hanging out at?
Yes.
Is it more than an Instagram? Are they in Facebook groups? Do they like to listen to podcasts? Are they actually networking in person? Find out where your ideal client is, and then I want you to go there.
Correct.
So that's another great part of marketing. Your messaging, going where your ideal client is at. Let's see. Having a plan. I know it's so boring, but having a plan is just so important, guys. Ladies, having a plan is so important. And what this looks like is, you know, what platforms are you on? What is your offer structure looking like? How often are you showing up on these platforms that you're going on? When are you going to be selling certain offers and services and products? Like that's just all part of like the marketing plan that you need to have.
Yes. I think both of those last two, going where they are. I heard this in the sense of a couple of my friends are in the dating world right now. They don't have significant others. And they're like, why do I keep finding horrible guys? I'm like, well, where are you going? And they're like, well, this place, like whether it's maybe at the gym or at a bar or something like that. And I was like, well, what does your ideal guy do? Like, is he at the bar? Then that's where you need to be. But if you want an educated guy, you need to be where the educated guys are.
Yeah.
And we forget this, that if you're speaking to an audience that isn't your ideal client, I've also heard this in the realm of, I think it was like one of the major fancy car companies. And somebody's fault said, like, you'll never see their commercials out because their drivers don't have time for televisions. They don't waste their money in commercials because their ideal audience doesn't have time for televisions.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super powerful because I was like, that is so true. I mean, if I want the ideal client who's hustling, they don't have time for TV. They don't have time for social media. But where are they?
Yeah.
Why am I not in that space where they are and having them hear me in that space?
Yeah.
And I think that is so key when we talk to marketing and we talk about getting our word out and getting to our ideal audience. We need to be where they are. If they're not at a networking event, but you're standing at a networking event, it's great for you, but you're not going to be pitching to anybody who wants to hear it. Like, it might not be helpful. Yeah. You might be wasting resources, time, energy, money on something that's just not going to produce anything for you.
Yeah.
And we're forgetting that. And then the plan is another thing that I think, I know as I am as a podcast producer, I have a lot of people who are like, well, I'm just going to go with what I feel that day. And I'm like, love that for you. Except for, what about the day when you don't feel motivated? What about the day when life happens, kids are sick, and you have all these things going on, right? We forget that, like, okay, that's a great plan. And I'll call it a loose plan. But we need more structure than that. We need to understand, what are we talking about? How to put it out there. We need to put it all together so that there is no guessing. It's right here. This is what we know we need to talk about, right? And then we're not wasting time, resources, money, and energy on something that isn't going to be beneficial. We don't want to be wasting time or resources or all of that, just throwing it at the wall and hoping it sticks and it resonates and we become viral from it. Like, that's not long term.
No.
And I heard somebody else put this one out. Has to do with marketing, is this concept that everybody is so worried about going viral. But what happens when we go viral is hard because then we have to reproduce that again.
Yeah.
And if it's not in your marketing, if it's not who you are, it isn't going to really fit. So how do you bridge that gap? How do we work on something like that where, like, yes, I want to be seen. Maybe I even want to go viral, but making it still fall in alignment with what you're teaching and talking about, something that you could reproduce 100 times over.
Okay, so I am in the mindset of going viral shouldn't be your thing that you're striving for. Can you expand on that question a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
I don't know which way to go.
no, it's okay. Because I have heard many a business owner who was like, well, I went viral on one of the platforms and I got all these orders in, right? Or I got a boatload of people who came to me. And then we all get this idea that like virality in our businesses and getting millions of views and likes and all those things is what's going to help us create that lifestyle, that the way of a successful business.
Mhm.
But if we're not putting the right messaging, like I had seen somebody, the reference to this was I had seen somebody say like my video went viral, but it had nothing to do with what I was coaching. It had nothing to do with my business and it went viral. And now I don't know how to reproduce that concept again related to what I actually teach about. And so I think that my question along that lines is then how do we combat that need for virality or that thought process of like, well, if I get enough likes, but yet making our marketing something that will naturally pull people in and bring success with it. Because I know a lot of people who are like, well, I want to be liked. I want the views to match and I want that content, but it shouldn't be about the views. It should be about their messaging should be the focus, not necessarily the analytics.
Yeah, and I feel like the messaging is more important. Like I feel like say your post goes viral, right? And you get all of these eyes and follows, but they're not the right people.
Yes.
They're not the right people. Really, it's not doing anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's almost like you go slow and steady, then you win the race. So I don't know what else to say besides just don't worry about going viral. Just create content that makes sense for your ideal client with the messaging that you give them. And that's it. You know, and maybe, for example, you get like 3 people that follow you from this piece of content compared to the post that went viral and you had a bunch of people, but they're not going to buy from you because they're not your ideal client. But the 3 people who did follow you from just that little post that did not go viral, they will buy from you. So
Yes.
hopefully that makes sense. Just
It does. It went
going viral.
Yes. No, it makes perfect sense because I think I have said it before, but hearing it from someone else, especially within the marketing industry and that concept is so important because we spit and we want the likes. We think our success is based off of a like and all of that, which is fine, but is it the like from the proper person? And we worry about numbers and the volume and this concept of I have to have millions of followers. But if there are millions of followers that aren't your ideal client, then
It's this.
exactly. And we would rather have less that will be your ideal client and will speak to it and will buy from it and will want from you versus millions that it's quantity versus quality. And we, I think, are confusing the two, especially I feel like lately, where it's this concern about, well, I need to be big on social media and I need to be this and I need to be that. And you're like, no, stop.
You know, I see so many posts on social media about going viral, and I ignore all of them. To me, going viral is not this. It shouldn't be part of your marketing tactic whatsoever.
Correct.
Please don't don't equate it to marketing because I don't like when people use the word viral. I don't like that they teach about trying to go viral. It doesn't do anything for you. There's no benefit for you whatsoever. Yeah. And I feel like also if you want your post to go viral or whatever, but that's fine. But then I also want you to think of like, is your business built to go viral? Do you have the offer structure put in place that's going to invite all those people? Do you have like the sequences, the freebies, all of those things that's going to move your ideal customer to being a buying customer? Do you have that
Absolutely.
set up? Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the next step is like, okay, you want that, right? We want hundreds of people. We want the massive amounts of orders or inquiries, and we want all those clients. And we feel like, well, because I heard somebody recently say, well, I only got like 300 views on a post. And I was like, 300 views? That's an auditorium, y'all. Like, I think we forget that, like, that's a lot in an auditorium. What if that was like, could your business handle if 300 of your ideal clients sat in a room ready and raring to pull out their checkbooks and pay for you? Could you handle that? If not, don't worry about getting millions if you can't even handle 300 or we're so concerned about the number, but yet we're not willing to go, okay, well, if I sat in a room with 300 or 3,000 or 3 million people that are ready to go and they're perfect and they're that ideal client ready to go for you, are you ready for that? Can you handle that? And I think forget to put the full equation. We stopped at, well, if I can get this, I can do the rest. So, like, it can all be successful, but that number means nothing if it's not put into the right processes and nurtured in the right way.
Yes.
To produce the dollars that we needed to do.
Yeah, and I want to also make a point about the likes and follows and whatever, the comments, those type of things. I cannot tell you how many times I've had other people tell me, other coaches tell me, or previous clients who even if they weren't clients, they just signed up for a freebie. Like, I think someone just signed up for a freebie that hasn't even liked or commented on any of my stuff. So, like, just because they don't like or comment or whatever doesn't mean that they're not paying attention. There's so many instances where that has happened where no one is liking, no one is commenting, but they're like entering into my world or a client's world or someone else's world. You know what I mean? So don't worry about it so much. I know it can be difficult, but sometimes I still fall in the trap,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we all do.
Yeah.
We all want to see the work pay off, right? We always look for the reward with the work. And it's hard not to see that, like, okay, I put the work in, I did the right things, I put the messaging in, and this one post doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Where this one thing doesn't necessarily work out. But like you're saying, I mean, I probably have sat and stared, like, Instagram stalked your page, and didn't touch anything, didn't say anything, but doesn't mean that I wasn't getting content, doesn't mean that I wasn't in that space watching, waiting, but looking, and then eventually made the step forward and said, okay, this is really awesome, or this was the one thing that really turned it. It doesn't mean that there's people not watching.
Yes.
And we're so worried about who is in front of us, because I actually just had a conversation with another friend, and I was like, we're always so worried about who's in front of us, and we're comparing our business, our marketing, our plan, our thought, whatever, to the person in front of us.
Yeah.
And we are so not aware of who is behind us, looking at us going, well, wow, she's really got it together, or this one's, like, she is just killing it, or I love the way she does this, or I want to follow in her footsteps. Like, we have no idea who is behind us because we're so worried about playing comparison game with who's in front of us. And it's somebody who is like, I don't know, like I was told once, like, there's the A through Z scale, and we might only be at G. And we're so worried about somebody who's already at R. We're not looking at A through E over here. Like, we're not looking at who else is around. And stop comparing. Like, stop comparing.
Yeah. And it's funny because we're not just the comparison part, but it also goes for our ideal clients, where we're so focused on getting new ones, where we're not looking at the ones that are already interacting with us, liking our posts, those things. We're not showing them love. We're just trying to keep getting more and more, even though it is still important as part of your marketing to continue to have those leads come in, which can be you can get those from other, other ways, but we also need to remember to focus on who's currently with us.
Just, and if we nurture those current people, then more will come.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
will happen.
Yeah.
It will happen. So what other kind of tips or tricks do you have, or advice do you have for that business, any business owner really, is maybe struggling in the marketing department, or kind of feeling a little lost in the marketing world, or feeling like they're kind of questioning this whole kind of concept? Somebody who doesn't have it all together, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Okay, first thing, I would highly suggest talking to some of your ideal clients. I think when you talk to them, I don't know about you, but when I talk to an ideal client and kind of get what they're feeling and experiencing and the frustrations that they're having, it gives me that boost of energy. Like, oh my gosh, yes, I could do this. I know what to do. I know how I can help them. And so talking to them, well, I feel like it gives you that clarity that you need in your business. You know, something that I say if you're wanting to talk to your ideal client is to give them an incentive, whether that's um I don't know, a $5 gift card to Starbucks or Amazon, or just something to show them that you appreciate them, because you talking to them is going to definitely help your business and your marketing, because you're going to use all that information, everything that they're saying, and you're going to go put it towards your messaging. So that is one tip that I think is super important, is to talk to your ideal client. Another one would be there's a lot. And it's a lot of what I've said. So basically, identify what makes you stand out from everyone else. And it could be your offers. Are your offers different? It doesn't have to be like your background or your education or whatever. It could be your offers are like freaking awesome because they're unique and they're not like anyone else's. So finding out what makes you stand out, getting clear on your messaging, and you're gonna have success with that when you talk to your ideal client. And then having a plan, and it can just be simple. I just want you to write out what platforms you want to be on. What is your posting schedule for those platforms? A list of your offers. Do you have a good offer suite? Do you have an entry, a mid-level, and then a higher level, a freebie? And then planning those out. And if it's overwhelming for you to plan out content for these platforms, maybe just start for a week, or maybe just do half a week. And I know it's a lot of work up front, but when you have those days where you're like, ugh, I don't want to post, I don't want to do this, but you already have something planned. You already planned it a couple days ago. So there's your plan, and you can post that content.
Yes. And I also want to add, if you don't know, or you're overwhelmed, or you're confused, or you're just not sure if you're doing this right, there are people like you who can get a coach for it. And exactly, like, hire that coach. It is not a bad thing. It is not a negative that you hired a marketing coach. That is probably one of the smartest things you can do, instead of wasting time and resources, instead of putting your efforts in the wrong places. Why not hire somebody who knows what they're doing, has their mindset there, can see big picture, and maybe just knows more about the platforms, knows more about that type of person and how to speak to them, or maybe just to brain dump with, and kind of reword your words so that it makes more sense. So you're not using fluffy words, we're using big words and real words and emotional words. And things like that. Maybe we just need to stop trying to be the superhuman and think we know it all, and hire someone to help us.
Yes.
And you would be that perfect person.
I would be that perfect person. The thing is I still need help. You don't see the outside of your jar. Your business, you're in the jar, and the outside, you can't see the outside of your jar. You need someone to help you find what those missing pieces are, and that's what I'm here for. I have to have help to see the outside of my jar, because there's some things that I'm like, someone's pointed out, I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I just didn't it just didn't connect, even though I do marketing and this person suggested something for my marketing. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So it's important to see what you're missing, like what you can't see.
Exactly. And so, how does somebody go ahead and get you as their coach and start to see the outside and being able to see big pictures and really change how their marketing might be attracting instead of pushing people, but attract them to them? How do we get in touch with you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at XO period Michaela star with 2 R's. And I have some freebies that I have linked on my Instagram profile. If you're wanting to figure out a strategy and you're like, I don't know what to do, I do have a 90-minute strategy call that we can jump on and brainstorm and come up with a plan or whatever you need help with your marketing. That's what that call is for. And then I do have a podcast called Impactful Marketing Podcast. So you can go over there and I have awesome guests and myself, which, I'm not that important. My guests are way cooler than me.
But it's all I would like to differ when that's okay. Well, thank you so much, Michaela, for being on, for coming and sharing just the immense amount of knowledge that you have. Listeners, make sure that you're following Michaela and go like I have done. I said I have fangirled and stalked a little. Go be that person and see all the amazing Michaela has to share with you. Even get in touch with her. I mean, that 90-minute strategy call sounds absolutely epic to and it could change just everything in your business. So why not take advantage of an opportunity that's placed in front of you, take some previews, do those things, implement the things that you need to, and go skyrocket your business because that's what's needed. And then thank you for following along here because we've got more guests like Michaela and more information and ways to amplify your business today coming soon. So stick around and follow for more.